All right, 3, 2, 1. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Drewski with Cryptid Warfare and Conspiracies Podcast and CW Operations and Survival. Hope you guys had a blessed week. You guys are doing good. If you guys got any encounter, you guys got any stories, you guys want to chit chat, you guys need any prayer requests, just go ahead and hit me up on Instagram, or if not, shoot me an email, cryptidwarfare@gmail.com. That's cryptidwarfare@gmail.com. Also, too, if you guys are having any critter problems when it comes to cryptid, spiritual warfare, anything like that, you guys want to do some gun training, anything like that at all, just go ahead and hit me up. Shoot me another email. It's c.woperations17905@gmail.com. I don't care how you guys get a hold of me. Just get a hold of me. Also, too, I want to give a shout out to Kingdom Defense. My boy, I'll just call him old Riptide. Charlie, love you, brother. And you guys need any, when it comes to medical training, QCB, all that stuff, shooting, these are the guys, the best in the business. Hit them up, Kingdom Defense. All right, that's enough of that. Guys, I got an amazing guest on here. I am super, super, super excited. I'm definitely behind on them when it comes to hunting monsters, real freaking monsters, guys. So, yes, I'm going to throw it out there. If you guys haven't heard of Lantern Rescue, I suggest you guys go freaking look them up. And, yes, may I introduce you guys to the president, the CEO, sorry, not the COO, the CEO, Miss, I'm gonna butcher your name again. I'm gonna just call you Miss K. So, from Lantern Rescue, guys, Miss K. Good to have you here.
Hey, great to have you. What an introduction. You guys just cover, Bigfoot, guns.
At all, man.
Just all the things. It's amazing. So, but yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And if you want to, for all the listeners out there, if you want to just give a little brief bio about yourself real quick before we get into it. So who you are, all that stuff real quick.
Yeah, no problem. So my name is Korrin. You didn't do too bad. Miss K, that's a new one. Korrin, Ren, if if Korrin is difficult, Ren works too. Anyways, so I am the president of Lantern Rescue, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization with the primary focus of combating human trafficking. So a little backstory on myself. I feel like everyone hates doing this, talking about yourself is the most awkward thing in the world. If you like it, give me your tips. But I served in the Marine Corps for 5 years after I got my bachelor's degree. And I was a Russian translator, cryptologic linguist. Funny, cryptids, cryptologic linguist, not the same thing, but monsters also. So I did that, really enjoyed my time in the Marine Corps. Following the Marine Corps, I had developed a passion for human trafficking during my undergraduate studies. I kind of maintained that through the Marine Corps, did some more academic studying of human trafficking while I was in the Marine Corps. I left and wanted to do some tangible work in human trafficking and actually get really involved. I ended up founding Lantern Rescue with the co-founder, who is now... He's gone on to do other things. He's more focused in other countries now. Sometimes I say he's no longer with us, and people are like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "He's not dead. He's fine. He's just at another organization." Anyways, there was another co-founder, great guy. He's doing other things now. But anyways, so we founded the organization kind of with the goal that we wanted to support locals, right? So when we're doing human trafficking rescues and raids, we've gone on them personally and done the undercover work, and it is really fulfilling to do that. But in reality, who should be rescuing people is their fellow countrymen. So when we're working in a country in Africa and a country in South America, it should be those locals that are doing the work. So there's a lot of reasons for that. And we can get into that potentially later. But that's really the best way economically to support them, as well as you're kind of creating a ripple effect of prevention when you're doing that. So yeah, and that's kind of, I'm also a prosecutor. I'm an attorney. I went to law school the beginning years of Lantern. So I do the lawyer thing as well.
Yeah, jack of all trades. You wear a lot of hats, girl. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, like I said, I appreciate what you do, and thank you for your service. And And yeah, we'll just get into it, man. So, how did Lantern Rescue get started?
Yeah, thanks. I kind of touched on that just briefly, but I'll get into that a little bit more. So, like I said, when I was doing my undergraduate studies, I had a professor that was really passionate about human trafficking, but there wasn't a human trafficking course. She just kind of touched on it, and I hyperfixated. Just that was my new, mission in life, my thing. So I continued my education just personally, books and following this organization and whatever that might be, kind of self-taught. Joined the Marine Corps, became less of a liability overseas. The Marine Corps gave me, some skills that made me less of a liability than a college student is. So enjoyed my time there. During that time, I did my graduate studies and I was able to actually take courses in human trafficking. So that was amazing. Really helped to expand that knowledge. Carried that passion, still very hyperfixated on it. Carried that passion on. When I left the Marine Corps, I wanted to, like I said, work hands-on with human trafficking and truly make a difference. So there's a ton of human trafficking organizations out there, and there can never be enough people doing this work. It is never going to be solved by one organization alone. We need all people in the fight, and it takes a variety of different ways to attack this problem. There's no, one way to skin a cat. I hate that saying, but it's
true.
Yeah. So everyone's attacking from a different angle. The angle that we thought was missing from the set of organizations that were out there was supporting locals. So it is very fulfilling to go to other countries and to get to interact personally with the survivors and to get to go on raids. And I do enjoy that. I'm not going to pretend that I don't. However, that is kind of an egotistical, selfish place to be coming from. It is better for the people. So say we don't work in Cambodia, but say we're in Cambodia. We do not work there. I am not Cambodian. I will never understand the cultural nuances of Cambodia the way that someone from there will. I will never understand the way that they handle processed trauma or the way that their culture is set up, the way someone from there will. So when we're doing these raids and we're doing these rescues and doing these long-term cases, the best people to handle that and the best people to interact with the survivors and victims are people that understand that culture. And the culture is different when you go to Venezuela, hot button topic now, but you go to Venezuela, you go to Ethiopia, they're all different. We're different countries for reasons. We have different cultures. So I can't, no matter how much I care about human trafficking, I cannot be an expert on all these places or have the cultural sensitivity that is needed. So what's best for them is to train the locals. So that's one side of it. Another side is they're able to be there all year. So I'm sitting in America right now. I am not in another country rescuing victims. And there are victims here in America. We can get into that later. There are victims in every single country in the world, full stop. But when we are training locals, we're creating what we call the discipleship of rescue. So it kind of creates this ripple effect where now I'm not in that country, but there are rescues happening today. So we don't have to be there for it to be happening. And that's what we want. We don't want victims waiting for the Westerners to come in and take the photos and do the rescue and feel really good about ourselves and post it on social media and leave. We want this to be happening all the time. So that's another reason. And then another reason is that ripple effect. So when it's the locals that are doing the work, they're going home every day. They're talking to their friends and family about, hey, what did you do at work today? You just like anyone would. You work at Target, you talk about your work. Anyone's talking about their work. So when they're doing that and they're working in human trafficking, we're creating a prevention effect as well. Because now they're spreading the word about human trafficking, what it really looks like, and kind of dispelling some rumors, as well as now the community knows who to go to report a tip of human trafficking, which happens, again, with any job. If you work at the local school and someone wants to become a teacher at that school, they're going to come to you to talk about it, right? So this isn't special to human trafficking that you know that. But anyone that works, I know so-and-so that works for this radio station, you want to get on the radio, whatever, similar concept. This crime happened. I know someone working in human trafficking, let's go to his house. So it really creates more of a community effect when we're working with the locals, and it's not just the Westerners coming in and doing the rescues. Now, there are certain cases where, yes, Westerners have to be involved, whether it's undercover work or intelligence work or whatever that is. Not all cases are the same, but the vast majority we want to be handled by the locals. So we provide them training, we provide them resources, mentorship, work with them through the cases, but we want them to be the heroes in this situation because they're the ones that are living there every day. They're the ones that are handling these problem sets. So that's kind of the model that we set up.
I got you. I got you. Yeah, yeah. To me, it definitely makes sense. Not only that, it makes it easier on you guys. So if you guys having this whole big conundrum and spaghetti effect on what you guys got to do, it definitely takes the load off. And not only that, these people, like you said, they're from the country, right? Their own country, so
Mhm.
they know all the ins and outs. Like you said, they know the culture, they know the slang, they know what to do. And like a lot of times, like going overseas and stuff, you don't realize it, but sometimes you kind of disrespect certain cultures with you not even knowing it. You kind of overstepping your boundaries, because you don't know how things work in that area. um what were the biggest challenges in the early days of building this organization?
Um, that's a good question. So I definitely say one of the biggest challenges is just kind of a misunderstanding of what human trafficking looks like. And that is kind of across the board. So here in the United States, there's been a lot of movement to kind of fix that
Mm,
recently, which has been great. But specifically when we started, there was just a real big misunderstanding of what human trafficking looked like. So a lot of people believe that it was just little girls kidnapped from Target parking lots, held in the basement, and sold to some guy overseas.
mm,
That's just not how it is.
yeah.
Maybe 0.001% of cases, maybe that's happening. The vast majority of human trafficking victims are trafficked by someone that they know. It is
Mm,
incredibly uncommon to be trafficked through kidnapping. It doesn't not happen, right? Anything can happen, but the vast majority is done by someone they know, whether it's a relative, someone in the community, someone that's developed a relationship with them online, whatever that may be. It is unbelievably uncommon to be kidnapped into human trafficking. And the reason we want to kind of dispel that myth and why it kind of caused problems in the beginning is when people believe that that is the primary way to be trafficked is you got to hold your kid's hand like you're going to rip it off in the Target parking lot because someone's going to just drive by and snatch them and go. When that is what you think human trafficking is, you are looking for the wrong monster. You are hyper fixated on this is how it happens. I've got their hand. They're never going to get taken from me. Meanwhile, in their other hand, they have, pardon my Powerpuff Girls phone case, they have their phone and they are talking to a trafficker online
yeah.
while you're holding their hand thinking that you're protecting them. You are not looking for the right monster. That's not to say like let your kids run wild and free and have no, let them loose and hopefully they make it home. I'm not saying that, like, right, be smart, but people were looking for the wrong monsters. They're not looking at the people in their lives. They're not looking at what's going on their devices, their phones, their laptops, their iPads, whatever it is. So when they're doing that, that's perfect for traffickers. They want you to believe that it's only kidnapping and it's only this very specific set of people, when really it is all genders, all races, all ages that can be trafficked. When you're just looking for someone in a white van just to kidnap your kid, you are going to be blind to
Mm,
everything else going on, which is perfect for the traffickers. They get to operate in complete immunity and operate in plain sight.
mhm.
So that was a big challenge because we're trying to educate people and we're trying to share these cases and we're sharing with people what trafficking looks like, and they're just very stuck in the mindset of it's just this one type. So and trafficking is not just sex trafficking. There's organ harvesting, ritual
Mhm.
sacrifice, there's
Oh
forced
yeah.
marriage, labor trafficking. It's this whole gambit. So and it has gotten better. Like I said, it's definitely gotten better, but in the beginning and to an extent still sometimes now, most people think human trafficking is only the sex trafficking of minors, and generally the sex trafficking of minor girls that have been kidnapped, and it's just not the
Mm,
case.
yeah, you're right. You're right on that. It also reminds me too of just basically on like doing some classes and stuff like that on SRA, satanic ritual abuse.
Mhm.
And yeah, example, yeah, when you brought that up and stuff. And so for the listeners and stuff out there, what signs should parents or communities look for?
Okay, so
Sorry,
it's
loaded
no,
question.
no, you're good. Yeah, so it's so complicated, and that's such an unfortunate answer, but let me just kind of explain what it looks like in different parts of the world, to include here in the United States, because
Yeah,
I'm assuming most of your listener base is United States, or if international, it's probably Australia, like the Five
yeah.
Eyes Australia. Yeah, okay. English-speaking countries. So we'll start with international, and then I'll bring it back to domestic at the end. So when we have cases, and every case in every country looks a little bit different. The crime types, kind of in Africa, we see a lot of labor trafficking, we see a lot of sex trafficking, and we see a lot of willful ignorance to situations or complete desperation that has caused a kind of a level of willful ignorance. So unintentionally selling yourself or your children into trafficking. So a lot of what we see in Africa is we do see some kidnappings there because we do see cases of ritual sacrifice and organ harvesting. Now, those are the cases, to kind of put a little asterisk on the kidnapping statement. Those are the cases that we're going to see the most kidnapping in, because those cases are not ones that generally end in a live rescue. And that's just to be blunt about it. Generally, it's not 100% of the time. There have been people that have survived sacrifice attempts and people that have been rescued before it's occurred, and that's great. Generally, when we find out about a ritual sacrifice, it is because it has already occurred. It is already a completed act. So kidnapping is more common when it comes to sacrifice and organ harvesting because there is no intent to return them. Their sacrifice or organs are harvested or both within hours of being kidnapped. So those are very aggressive cases. Those are not ones that you can really give warning signs for, because usually what happens is it's a kid walking to school. Again, this is in Africa. If anyone's tuning in the middle of this, I'm talking about Africa. I'm not talking about the United States. Kids are walking to school and they are taken, or they're walking to the store or whatever that is. It is a crime of opportunity. So there is no real way to prevent that except for to travel in groups. Teach your kids to kick, scream, run, right? Yeah. So that's very unfortunate. So I do want to put a little caveat on there. We do handle cases. I would say almost every single kidnapping case has been one of these. So when it comes to trafficking that is not going to end in sacrifice or organ harvesting, usually what we're going to see is some type of grooming effect. So that grooming can be as short as a couple of minutes and long as a couple of months to years. And what we'll see with grooming in places like Africa, when people are being groomed into sex trafficking or labor trafficking, is similar to anywhere else in the world. They're developing a relationship with their trafficker, or they already have an established one. So it can be a parent, it can be an aunt, uncle, a cousin, a relative, whatever, or just someone in the community. They are going to start to offer them things. So usually small gifts, buying them flour, buying them stuff that in America we take for complete granted, but it makes a huge impact on people over there. So they're going to start providing some small things for them to make their lives a little bit easier. And slowly over time, they will encourage them to take a job. They will encourage them to go somewhere else or start working for someone else. And that will turn into a situation of labor or sex trafficking. And this can be very quick. Sometimes this is someone they meet in the village. Hey, I know they're looking for a job. They encounter, there are some job recruitment agencies over there that are false. I mean, they are recruiting to traffic you. If the job opportunity sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So they will take advantage of people in really impoverished situations, take advantage of people that don't have a formal education, and take them into some form of labor or sex trafficking, or both. In Africa, we do see some cross-border movement that is pretty common. You do not need to cross borders to be trafficked. That's kind of another misconception. We've seen tons of people trafficked, especially here in the United States, within their own homes.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So in Africa, we're going to see cross-border movement and a lot of labor and sex trafficking. And then that is where we do see kidnapping for organ harvesting and ritual sacrifice. When it comes to South America, Latin America, we see a lot of sex trafficking down there. And a lot of that is they will take advantage of people's insecurities. So and we've seen a lot of victims from Colombia and Venezuela being trafficked into resorts in the Dominican Republic and other tourist destinations, where the traffickers will meet them online. They will develop a relationship. They will have other girls that have been trafficked create online profiles, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, and make their lives look amazing. Like, oh my gosh, look at this life I'm living in the Dominican Republic. I'm at parties every night, resorts every day. I'm making so much money. Look at this cool purse. Look at these shoes, whatever. They create these online personas that draw in people that are in, a girl sitting in Colombia and she's like, oh my God, I want that life. That's so amazing. And, they start messaging. She's like, well, you could come, let me just talk to this guy, meet the guy. And he's like, yeah, you'd be great. But if you lost 10 pounds, and then they're like, okay, well, I got to do this to get his approval, and they're seeking that approval. So they'll prey on their insecurities. They will bring them over, and the trafficking will begin very, very shortly after they get there. So in that sense, we also see some cross-border movement. So that's kind of what we're seeing overseas in a nutshell. There's a lot more that goes into this, but if I had to kind of lump all of our cases into one type for those regions, that's what we're seeing. There's a lot of labor and sex trafficking in Africa, a lot of false job promises over there, a lot of false job promises in South America. So it's very difficult because these people are in such dire circumstances that they want to believe that these jobs are real. And it is so hard to break the news to them that this is not real. Like, they are going to traffic you. You're going to make $0 and you probably are going to contract a disease. You could be killed. You could die. There's so much that can happen.
Yeah.
And it is so sad. They think they have this golden opportunity. And then for them to be exploited in that way. So that's what we're seeing overseas. Now, domestically, the United States, Australia, England, places like that, you're going to see a much longer grooming process. And the reason that people are grooming and not kidnapping, this is kind of a good place to touch on this. The reason that we're going to see grooming and there is not kidnapping is traffickers, even internationally, but especially domestically, they don't want to deal in stolen goods. When someone is kidnapped, there is a missing poster. There is the back of the milk carton, you know, there's the knick-knack things that you see in stores when you walk out, the big poster of these kids are missing or whatever. They don't want to be dealing in stolen goods. If those kids are seen out and about, kids, adults, whoever, because adults can be trafficked too, people are going to report in tips. And even Johns that solicit sex trafficking victims, some of them have more of a conscience than others. They might realize that someone is a kidnapping victim and they might call it in, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which, what? Like, it's crazy. But anyways, it has happened. Their conscience is just like a weird thing. Anyway, so it has happened. So they don't want to deal in stolen goods. What they want is they want these victims to willingly go with them. So they are going to, we call it the Romeo or the lover boy effect, is kind of words you'll hear. What they do is they develop a relationship with the victim, and they're going to slowly over time encourage a romantic relationship, generally fall in love with them. They're the greatest thing that's ever happened. Oh, your parents don't understand you. Your friends don't understand you. I'll take care of you. We're in love, this, that, and whatever. And over time, they will, it sounds like the beginning of a really toxic relationship. They will isolate them. They will give them gifts. They will do all these things that on their own are not illegal and on their own are not maybe bad. But over time, that victim will become more and more attached to their trafficker. They will become more and more isolated from their support systems. And the trafficker then can traffic them. Then they're going home every night to their parents' house. And during the day when they're with their boyfriend, they're being sex trafficked.
Yeah.
So they're not missing. So no one is, the red flags are not sent up. People are not out looking for them. They're coming, my kid can't be trafficked. They just came home and had, you know, chicken dinner with us. They can't possibly be trafficked because, and that's another reason why this kidnapping myth is so dangerous. Because people aren't looking right at what's in front of you. So in that grooming can be online or it can be in person, but they want them to slowly groom them into that situation so that also the victim they're not alerted to anything. Because if you're, you know, even an adult, if you get a message on Instagram, just a cold DM, and it's immediately like, hey, I need you to sleep with 3 guys tonight, and I'm gonna charge them each this amount, and you're gonna live with me. You'd be like, ew, delete, block, right? And you're not gonna come out of the gate that strong. Yeah. But 6 months in, they might. You know, 6 months in, 3 months in, they're like, oh, I'm having a real hard time paying rent this month. My buddy he's gonna cover the rent for us. You just have to go on a date with him. You just have to hang out with him. And it starts slowly like that. So they want it to happen slow as well, so that the victim is not like, ew, get away from me, or calls the police. Slowly over time, they're like, I chose this. I chose him. I want to be with him. This is the life I chose. And a lot of times the traffickers will convince them that they are also going to be arrested because they have, you know, prostitution is illegal or whatever they're going to say. Oh, you committed a crime. You did drugs, whatever. So they will also, they will also create a situation where the victim feels like they can't go to the authorities because they've either chosen this or they've also committed a crime or whatever that is. So the grooming process, and it's hard to say what to really look out for. So that's why it's kind of difficult in these situations, because I can't say for sure, like, if this, then that. You know, there's no hardline rules when it comes to trafficking. really what is most important, especially if you have minor children, is just open, honest conversations, which are awkward. They're uncomfortable, but one, you have to know who's in your kid's life. We're not friends with your kids. You're just not. Sorry. When they're older, maybe. But as children, you have to be the strict parent, but also be the fun house. Have your friends' kids, kids' friends. There we go. Have your kids' friends come to your house. Create an open environment where the local kids, if something goes wrong, you're the person that they go to, so that you can help triage those situations. So that's not to say cut other parents out. We've encountered situations where children have come to us and we've had to go to their parents then. And it's complicated and it's difficult, but I would prefer if my kid was in trouble that another parent help them and then come to me. That's fine. You're not overstepping. We need to get away from this like mind your business world. Don't mind your business. Help other people, help other kids.
Yeah.
We need to get back to the village mindset. We need to get back to
really,
it really does. And not to get on a tangent, but I remember a couple years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, I was at the beach, and this little kid was way far away from their parents. Like, parents were nowhere near. And this kid is like maybe 3 or 4, and they're in the waves. Like, they're getting pulled out to sea. Like, this is going really poorly. And I had to stop. Like, my instinct was to go help them. But my other instinct that I was fighting against is, well, am I going to get in trouble for helping this child? Are the parents going to get mad that I touched their child? That's crazy that's a society that we're in right now.
Yeah, right.
Even like that process slowed me down from going to help that child, but that's the world we're living in now, is where, oh no, don't talk to my kid and mind your business. And no, don't mind your business. Help other people's kids, help other people in general. Love is the only thing that will save us now as a society. And when we are stifling that because we are afraid of the optics or afraid of getting in trouble or whatever that is, get over it. I need to do it myself. This is a PSA to myself as well. But it's just crazy now that the thought of helping someone else's kid kind of comes with a disclaimer of like, can I? That's just, but anyways, sorry, that was a tangent.
No, you good. I agree. It's, I definitely hear that. And when you were saying that story, I was kind of putting myself in your shoes. I'm like, ooh, yeah, I felt that. But it's part of my language is that it's F it, I'm going to do it. And if I get my hand slapped, I get my hand slapped, whatever. But, number one's the kid. That's all that matters. So, okay. So what does it feel like when a rescue is successful?
That's a great question. So it's always a very exciting moment and happy, sad tears. So it's so great to see people get removed from those situations. That is always amazing. However, it is just the beginning of a very difficult recovery process. And everyone handles recovery very differently. There's certainly no template for someone that has come out of trafficking, whether it is labor trafficking, sex trafficking, forced marriage, whatever it is. There is no template for their recovery. And the recovery is not a straight line. So
a roller coaster, yeah.
It really is. And in some cases that I've been with the victims immediately after rescue, those are the moments that we're telling them that they're a victim of trafficking. They don't even know that. And that's also why trafficking is very underreported. It's underreported, it's underprosecuted, it's undercharged. And part of the reason for that is people don't know that they're victims of trafficking. Traffickers don't know that they're traffickers because there is such a misunderstanding of what trafficking is. So there have been a lot of times where we sit down with victims afterwards. I would say a majority of people rescued don't know that they're a victim of human trafficking until they're informed of that. Yeah. They don't know to call the police because what they believe trafficking, I wasn't kidnapped. What they believe trafficking is and what it actually is are two totally different things. We see it a lot with labor trafficking as well I did take out a loan from him and, I borrowed money to get my passport from him to get to this country. So I owe him work for 3 years to pay for a passport, so it's just this complete misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And victimization. So it's exciting because they're rescued and they're going to have a new life, but it's going to be painful. And it also, it's almost one of those things where you're like, that can't be real. Like even me, like I've been working in trafficking for so long and I'm still like, there's no way that people are doing this to other people. And then you see the victims and you're like, no, yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
It's not a story. It's not a movie. It's not made up. It's real. And it sucks. Like the more people you get out of trafficking, you're like, woo, they have a new life. But then you're like, wow, people are really doing this to other people. Like this is wild. So, and it never gets easier when it comes to that, just knowing what they've gone through and the things that they might never talk about and they might never fully recover from.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword where you're just so excited and you're so grateful that their life has been changed. But
there's a long road ahead.
There's a long road ahead. And how many people have we not gotten to yet, you know?
Yeah.
So it just, So that's kind of, in a nutshell.
I gotcha. Okay. So without sharing any sensitive details, keep it OPSEC. Can you share a story that shows why this work matters?
Oh yeah.
I know you got thousands. Let's hear it.
Let me think of a good one, a recent one. So I'm trying to think of one that is in recovery enough that. Okay, yeah. So one of our first rescues. All right, so let's go back, way back
in the day,
in the time machine to the beginning.
Hot tub time machine. Yep.
Hot tub time machine. So one of our first victims, and this case is a roller coaster. So it took 4 times of rescuing her from trafficking before she actually saved out of trafficking. Yeah. So that's another like fun fact. There is a recidivism rate with trafficking. So, and that's not to say I like to compare it, you were law enforcement. I like to compare it to domestic violence. Yeah. So and anytime I talk to or I teach to law enforcement, I like to make this comparison. I always ask like, how many people have responded to a case of domestic violence? And everyone's hand will generally go up. Yeah. How many people have responded to the same house multiple times for the same couple? Hands are going to go up again. Each time you go and he or she, because men can be victims as well, and he or she is bloody, bruised, beaten, and emotionally wrecked, does that make them any less of a victim each time you get there? No. Is it frustrating? Yes. Okay. Yes. However, the world and society has definitely gotten better at understanding that when it comes to cases of domestic violence, that sometimes, people get stuck in this cycle. Human trafficking is a cycle too. And just because someone was a victim of human trafficking, they were removed from human trafficking and they end up back in it, that does not make them less of a victim. There is a lot of grooming. There is a lot of manipulation that goes into human trafficking the same way that we see in domestic violence in cases where people are unable to leave their abusers. It is like facts are different, but the circumstances are not all that different. So with this particular victim, it took 4 times before she was fully out of trafficking. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And there's reasons that I'll probably never fully understand. But her specific situation, she was down in the Dominican Republic, one of our very first cases. And she was a young mother. So she was trafficked very young. Her trafficking began as a teenager. When we met her, she was in her 20s. That's another thing for people to understand is because a victim is an adult now, a lot of times those victims started as children. Those are children victims that no one ever got to. It does not make adult victims are no less important than children victims, right? So at this point in time, she was an adult. She had been trafficked as a minor and had been trafficked this entire time.
Man.
At one point during her trafficking, she fell pregnant. She gave birth. She had a child. It is unclear if the trafficker is the father, if John, unclear. The child exists. She loves her child. That's all that matters. And what the trafficker did after the child was born is he would withhold the child. He would take her, lock the mother out, and not allow her to have access to her child again until she brought him enough money from being trafficked, from going out on dates. He would set up dates for her. If she didn't go, he would keep the child. So he was using this child against her for a long time. So she was rescued. She was along with the child, and she ended up back in trafficking. It is what it is. It does not make her any less of a victim. It does not mean she didn't care for her child. She loved her child immensely. The final time that she was rescued and she was finally done with him, amazing, right? And each time we encountered her again, didn't love her any less, didn't get any more frustrated. Every time my phone went off in the middle of the night and it was her, and I'm back in the United States and she's, back in a situation and she needs help again. Okay, we'll be right there. It was never a question. It did take multiple times, but the final time she got out, she got a job at a grocery store. She became the manager of the grocery store. And we've been blessed enough to be able to go and visit and see the child as she grew up. And she's doing great now. That particular victim was able to help us get other victims out. So because she had been in that world for so long, she was able to provide a lot of intelligence, and
she knows all the ins and outs. Yeah.
Yeah. And to talk to victims as well and help them understand, like, hey, not only have I been in it, I've been in it multiple times. These things happen to me, and they truly are going to help you. And that case is, I think it's important for a lot of reasons. One, it just shows that the mental manipulation in these situations and physical. I mean, he held her child against her. Victims can have children. They can contract diseases. They can pass away. Trafficking can leave long-standing effects on people, as well as it shows her heart to go and help other victims once she was out of it. And she knew after the first time we interacted with her, she knew that she didn't want to be in this world, but she didn't know any other world. She had been trafficked since she was a kid.
Yeah, that's all she knew.
It's all she knew. And it takes a really long time to change that. So that's the case I would want to share.
Yeah, well, praise God on that. But man, dude, that had to be a rough road. And yeah, just a lot of chains had to be broken on that. Okay, how do you personally handle the emotion, like the weight of it, of the work, of the job?
Yeah, so do I handle it super well? Probably not. So I am also a Christian. So there's a lot of, working through my church, working with individuals that care about this work. I have a really great support system. I lean heavily on my faith, and that's great. But there's not, to kind of put into perspective, when people question our faith, because I'm sure anyone that's been a Christian for more than 12 seconds has been asked or seen something online that says, if your God exists, then why does this exist? And they will bring up the Holocaust. They'll bring up whatever calamity. They'll bring up something like human trafficking. And I understand where people come from with that. And sometimes I wrestle with, frustration at that. Why is this allowed to happen? Frustration. And ironically, last night during a service, one of the passages that was brought up was Psalms 13, which is a Psalm of David. And it's essentially how long? Like, how long will this suffering go on? How long do I have to live like this? And at the end it is, but I trust in you. But I trust in you, and I know that, your salvation is there. So when it comes to human trafficking and my personal handling of the emotions that come along with these cases and this work, it's not always a straight line. It's not always sunshine and rainbows. I'm able to open my Bible and there's a glowing light and I'm so happy. There's times where I struggle and there's times where I wrestle, and I'm, when we get to cases of sacrifice where, last month, for example, in January, 3 cases of sacrifice were brought to us and there were no survivors. So in those cases specifically, they all were deceased. So stuff like that it's super heavy, and it's not, there gets to points where you're like, why is this happening? And kind of, I don't want to ever say that it has to happen, because I am not the ultimate authority on any of this. I don't know what God's plan is, but what I will say is, when we're, how long will this suffering go on? Until you don't let it, until you make a move. What if you are someone's answered prayer for when they are sitting in this situation and they are in the darkness and they are saying how long, and you are God's messenger to them and you are their answered prayer. So I try to get myself out of the mindset of like, this is hard on me, and try to think of, this is hard on the victims. And what if I am their answered prayer and I need to get out of my own head and go and help them? I am that. They're sitting there saying how long, and the answer is until
you're in that gap
gets moving. So that's kind of how I see it and how I try to stay positive. Is it a perfect system? No. Like, I definitely get times where I'm like, I just need to go for a run, or I need to, just be alone for a couple minutes, or whatever that is. But when stuff gets heavy, and you can apply that to any, if you're not in the human trafficking space, you can apply that to any situation where, how long am I going to suffer until you don't? until you make a move, until you allow God to work through you, you might be someone else's answered prayer in that situation.
Roger that. That was good. What's the hardest part of being the founder?
I've never been asked that. So
I was just punching
me.
out. I was just punching out like questions, man.
No, you're good. You're good. The hardest part of being the founder is always trying to reassess whether we're doing everything that we can, everything we possibly can for the survivors, everything that we can to spread the word. Because, we do rescue victims of human trafficking. We also do present them with the gospel when the opportunity arises. We're certainly not like literally they're walking out of their trafficking situation and we're like, would you like to read this passage? Like, we're not doing that.
Yeah, I know. You guys got to build rapport with them. You got to set the
yeah. So we actually have brought traffickers to Christ. Like that's one of my most proud moments is I've been able to lead traffickers to Christ, which is interesting, but proud of that. So being the founder is always just kind of trying to circle back on, is everything we're doing with the victims at the front of our work? Are they always the most important? Because it is easy to get distracted by, we have to fundraise, we have to do, we have all these administrative tasks and they are necessary. They really love it when we file our taxes. The IRS is not a fan of me not filing my taxes. So there's certain things that yes, does take me out of the fight for a little bit because I'm, filing taxes. But there's administrative things that we have to do. But are we always coming back to the structure of, are we always putting the victims first? Is everything that we're doing focused on them and not focused on our personal glory, on growth on social media, just for growth on social media? Is that growth not because we're like, woohoo, we have this many followers now, but woohoo, we have this many people interested in human trafficking?
Yes.
Is that always the foundation of what we're doing? So, and it's not necessarily a hard thing, but it is something that we just have to keep in our minds.
Check.
And I think that that's sometimes where organizations, whether it's in human trafficking or other types of nonprofits, can go astray, is they get so big and stuff gets moving so fast that they lose sight of what's the most important. And, maybe celebrities get involved or they get
humility
on something big.
Yeah.
And you kind of lose track of that. So just always kind of coming back to that foundation of why we started.
Yep. Keep your vision and your mission right at the point. I hear that. Mm-hmm. You kind of already answered, but what's the most rewarding part?
Yeah, it definitely is working with the survivors and getting to meet them and know them. And that's definitely at the forefront, but I would say a close, right there with it is getting to work with individuals that care, people that are not trafficked, but that care about trafficking survivors and they care about this work and they genuinely care. They're not just there to be like, I want to go and shoot bad guys and I want to go whatever, get this glory. But they genuinely, even just followers on social media that are, comment on cases and are praying for survivors around the world and are involved in this work and they're talking about it in their personal lives and they are, interacting with individuals and spreading the word of rescue, of human trafficking, and of the ultimate rescue and the ultimate rescue mission, which was our Lord and Savior. So all of that tied in together and seeing people come together and really start to understand human trafficking and have a passion for it, which is exactly how I started, is creating this army of people that are out there and that are really, really passionate about helping these survivors. And so that's, the survivors and working with them is definitely the top, but real close, 1.5 is working with people that also just really care.
Yeah. Heck yeah, Roger that. And this is going to lead to the other couple questions, and then I'll let you go. But okay, so how can everyday people unknowingly contribute to the problem?
Oh, also a question I haven't really been asked. So there is a lot of labor trafficking and slave labor in everyday products. And this is not to fearmonger because I'm sure there's stuff in my house that has touches of slave labor. It is almost impossible.
It's impossible. Yeah.
So, but there is things that we can do, right? So if you are a Shein, Temu addict, remove yourself from that situation. Almost everything, if it is, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I got 35 mugs for $12. Really? Why do you think you might have gotten that? If you're so shocked by the price of something, one, the quality is probably not great, but also it is probably made with slave labor at some point. along the way. There's no way that you're getting, 700 pairs of underwear for $3. You're just not, unless there's slave labor involved in it. So, this fast fashion, this consumer mindset, slow down. You don't need that much stuff. You don't. Slow down and try to really be intentional with what you're purchasing. So thrift shops are great. Going on and seeing what's fair trade is great. And even just minimizing your impact. So if you're not gonna be able to completely remove slave labor, there's slave labor and microchips on cell phones. Like there's just a lot that you just can't remove. But in the places that you can, just slow down and really think about it. Don't be just buying stuff to buy stuff that you're probably going to throw out anyways, probably isn't going to work. You probably have too much of. Don't be such a consumer. It's overconsumption core it's just extreme at this point. We should go back to the days of handmade stuff. There's that. So, and always looking for fair trade labels. So we see a lot of slave labor in the chocolate and the coffee industry. Those are very easy products to look for fair trade logos on it. If you just Google fair trade logos, you'll find them. Very easy to find. So just trying to focus on that. And even, Sam's Club brand members mark of the Keurig pods, those are fair trade. You don't have to be spending $1 million on it. Just look for those labels when you can. Don't obsess over it to the point where you don't ever buy anything ever again. I'm not trying to fearmonger, but there's a lot you can do with that. So people that are unintentionally contributing, generally you're contributing to some form of slave labor. There's people that are intentionally or maybe unknowingly that are participating in the purchase of sex. Even if you go to another country on a bachelor's trip, on spring break, whatever that is, never purchase sex ever at any point in time in your life. Don't do it. Even if they don't have a trafficker and they are a sole proprietor into the sex industry in a country where it is legal, there is no sex worker Barbie for a reason. No little girl grows up wanting to be a sex worker. I personally don't think prostitution should be legalized. That's a different story for a different day. I know there's a lot of very strong opinions on that. I don't think that. I'm a Christian, obviously.
Agreed, yeah.
That's not one of my beliefs. But even in countries where sex work is legal and they don't have a pimp or they don't have a trafficker, pimp is another word for trafficker. Just to put that out there, don't purchase sex. Don't purchase sex. If you're purchasing it, there's a very good chance you're participating in human trafficking. The same can be said about the pornography industry. There is a legal pornography industry. A lot of the people in that, they may be choosing that. Again, there's not a pornography Barbie. Most people don't grow up wanting to be in the pornography industry. And people that have come out of it and that have given their testimony have talked about how much it has impacted them. And there is a lot of human trafficking that goes on in pornography. So unknowingly, you're probably participating in slave labor. Slow down. Don't be such a consumer. Do your best to purchase fair trade items. Don't be so stuck in that you never move again. And then when it's kind of knowingly, but maybe willful ignorance, don't purchase sex. Don't view pornography. So that's kind of how people knowingly and kind of willfully, ignorantly participate in trafficking.
I gotcha. If someone suspects trafficking, what should they do?
So if you are in the United States, your first call should be to 911. So that is, which sounds, crazy. Police are working on getting more education across the country. A lot of police departments now have at least a base understanding of what human trafficking is. So 911 is always my first. If you believe a trafficking situation is happening currently, if this is something that you've heard this podcast or another podcast and you believe that you may have been trafficked at a past point in your life and you're not an emergency situation right at this moment, 911 is not going to be the one you want to call. Call local law enforcement, call the non-emergency line, or the human trafficking hotline is 888-373-7888. You can also Google that, National Human Trafficking Hotline. It'll be up. So you can call that. If you believe a human trafficking situation is happening right now, whether it's actively something's happening or someone's in human trafficking, call 911, call your local law enforcement. They actually are equipped to handle that. We get a lot of messages to our inbox about what do I do? Please contact local law enforcement. They will start the case. And if that case, you have issues along the way, you can reach out to other law enforcement agencies. There's always more than one in your area, whether you have local PD, state PD, sheriff's department if you're in the South, the Attorney General's office, FBI. So there will be more than one agency that's able to handle a case.
Roger that. Roger that. I'll ask you a couple more, and then we'll get going. What is one thing you wish every parent knew?
One thing that I wish every parent knew is child locks on your phone, on your child's phone, are going to do nothing except for create someone that is sneaky.
Yep.
So, when it comes to cell phones and protecting your digital devices, right? Cell phones, iPads, laptops, the world we live in now is very technology based. Putting a child lock on your child's phone is going to do nothing except for create sneaky children. Maybe your kid will pay attention to it, maybe not. But here's kind of like the blunt facts about it is, say the child lock works and you have child locks on your kid's phone from the time they get it at 13, 12, 13, whenever we're giving kids cell phones, to 18, and suddenly the child lock is off. They say it works the whole time and they're locked down. All they're doing is texting you, texting and calling their friends. They're not on Instagram, they're not on Snapchat, they're not on TikTok. I personally don't agree on any kids on Snapchat, so never let them on that. Instagram, whatever. The day they turn 18, you have now, and they actually didn't get around the blocks. They've been good the whole time. And you've not allowed them any access to any form of social media or any form of the world outside of your bubble. The day they turn 18, you are basically releasing an infant onto the internet. So kids can be trafficked under 18. Kids can be trafficked over 18. They can be taken advantage of over 18. They can be a victim of sextortion over 18. So if you're not slowly allowing your children to interact with society, whether that is in person or virtually, ideally both, you are going to create a situation where your child has no understanding of the internet, and everyone that talks to them on the internet is their friend, and everyone has good intentions. So that is not to say release your child to TikTok at 12 years old. Please don't do that either. But for example, pick a social media app. I would suggest Facebook or Instagram. I am a strong proponent against Snapchat. I will never allow any child on Snapchat. It's a toxic app. If you're over 18 and you have Snapchat, I assume you're cheating on your spouse. It's like the cheating app. If you're under 18, you're on Snapchat, I assume that old creepy men are talking to you. This is what it is.
Yeah.
Snapchat is not a good app. I'm sorry. It probably had the best of intentions, but it's been used for nefarious things.
Yeah, it's been hijacked. Yeah.
Yeah. So, say Instagram. Put your kid on Instagram and talk to them about, hey, if you have not met this person in person and been able to shake their hand, I know 12-year-olds aren't shaking hands. I also wouldn't. I like the idea of not having kids on social media until they're closer to 16. I think those laws that are coming out are great, especially good job, Australia. Talk to your kids about who they should be adding on social media. The only social media I have is Facebook. The people I have on there, I'll get friend requests of like a friend that might have known me in high school. I'm not accepting. I'm sorry. You might be curious about my life right now. Why? I haven't seen you in 20 years. Why are you curious about my life? It's weird. So even as an adult, you don't need to be adding every 13th removed friend. It's okay to have a small circle. It's okay to only have 200 followers that you actually know. And for kids, it's the same way. Like when they want to add, oh, well, this is my friend's cousin that played soccer against us. Have you ever met them in person and actually hung out with them? Then you don't need to add them. Well, they want to be friends. Why? Why do they want to be friends with someone they've never met? No. So having those conversations and just teaching them safety online so that when you release them to the world, they are not completely ignorant to the ways of the internet, because they're going to make mistakes. And that is also okay. When we are putting child blocks on phones, kids are likely to get around them. And that's the other side of this coin, is you're either releasing an infant onto the internet or you're creating a sneaky child. So when kids get around child blocks and they're now on Instagram that they were not supposed to be on, and they're talking to people that they're not supposed to talk to, and they send a picture that they probably shouldn't have sent, and now they're being sextorted online, they are not going to come to you because they're already somewhere they're not supposed to be. They don't want to admit that to you. They're doing stuff they know that they shouldn't have been doing. They don't want to admit that to you. And now this person might even be telling them, well, you sent the picture and you're under 18, so you just sent a picture of child pornography. You can be arrested. So these kids are not going to want to come and get help. And there have been cases in the United States where children have taken their own lives because they've gotten into situations like that. So those are the two negatives from child blocks: is you're going to create a sneaky child or you're going to release an infant onto the internet. You got to meet in the middle. You got to find somewhere that you can allow them to have limited access to the internet, but teaching them about it and having these conversations and modeling good behavior. If all your kid ever sees is you on your phone, you constantly uploading things to the internet, you constantly taking, oh my gosh, do that again so I can video it and put it on Facebook. Be present with your kids. Don't make your phone your idol to the point that your kids feel like they have to emulate that and that they're oversharing online because that's what they've watched you model for them.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the online presence, I don't think there's a world where we can really get away from it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this evil that we have to accept, and we have to learn how to talk to our kids about it. So long way to say, child blocks are useless.
Roger that. What does no. Let me skip that because you already answered that. Okay. Okay. 2 more questions then.
Sure.
Okay. Why is the fight worth it?
Okay. So everyone is built in the image of God, right? So we are all image bearers, and everyone is infinitely valuable to God. You're going to see estimates out there, 27 million to 50 million victims of human trafficking in the world today. The estimates are very diverse. There's a lot of reasons for that. One, no one is putting on the census that they are a victim of human trafficking, right? Like, this is not a self-reported crime. This is just a wild estimate of what's out there. And then, do child brides count as human trafficking? That's kind of where you get that larger number. Are we counting that or are we not? That number is so overwhelming. I do believe it is somewhere in there. I believe the amount of victims of human trafficking today is somewhere in that range. That's an overwhelming number. And when we get stuck on that number, I think that's where we go wrong. I kind of don't care about the estimates of human trafficking. And that sounds like confrontational. It's not. I don't care if there's 1 million victims or 2 victims. They all matter. The 2 matter, then 1 million matter. And each individual matters. Each individual is a story. It is not a number. It is not a statistic. They are people. They are image bearers of God. Whether they are believers or not, it does not matter. It does not matter what country we're in, what race, what gender, what age. They all matter. So the fight is infinitely worth it, even if it was just for one victim. If the story I told you is the only victim we'd ever rescued, I would be as passionate as I am that we've rescued over 3,000. It doesn't matter. Each individual matters. And each individual is another chance at life. And even if it does take 4 times for them to get out of trafficking, or even if it does require a very difficult road to recovery, they all matter. And I think where people make mistakes getting involved in this work is you cannot come from a mindset of, I want to do bad things to traffickers. You have to come from a mindset of love for the victims. And that is who's important. It is, yes, traffickers need to go to jail. Yes, I agree with that. That's why we work with governments. We don't work outside of governments because we want the traffickers arrested, prosecuted, and convicted. 100%. I'm an attorney. Like, I want a prosecution and conviction. 100, yeah, of course I do. However, if the traffickers are my focus over the victims, I'm going to be making choices that are focused on my hate instead of my love.
Emotional. Yeah.
And that is not a place you want to be. When you are, anytime someone has ever reacted out of hate, we've all done it in our lives. You've probably made choices that you regret. You've said things you regret. You've made choices you regret. You've behaved, just your posture and your demeanor, you regret later. When we're coming from love, that is a completely different story. That is a completely different situation. We're going into these rooms with survivors in a completely different mindset and posture. So it matters. And even controversial, the traffickers matter too. And like I said, we have brought some traffickers to Christ, and they are serving Christ behind bars. They don't get less time because they converted to Christianity, but they matter as well. So every single life matters. Every single life is in the balance between good and evil. So that is important to think about too. The one matters just as many as the million.
Yeah. And that, that is a big time tough pill to swallow for people, is that, Christ not only died for me, for you, for the kid, but he also died for the child trafficker. He died for the guy who's a part of ISIS, who's a suicide bomber. And that is a tough, but you know what? He did, hands down, he did. And, that's like you said, that's one thing that people would definitely get wrapped up on is the emotional hate of it. And instead of looking at people, how Christ looks at them, and that's that was a good one. Okay. Last one. How how can people support Lantern Rescue?
Yeah, so great question. Follow on social media. It's funny, I just talked about social media. Follow on social media. You can sign up for our newsletter. You can sign up to get the impact report. Donations. Obviously, we're a nonprofit, so if people want to donate, sign up to be a liberator. Signing up to be a liberator is $35 a month. You get a really cool swag bag with it. You get a shirt and a bunch of other cool things. And what that money goes towards is it is helping to fund these operations. You know, somewhere between 89 to 92% of what we bring in goes directly to operations. There is an administrative overhead, as there is with any nonprofit. Like I said earlier, the tax man is a big fan of us paying our taxes and filing them. So granted, we are a nonprofit, so our tax situation is different. There's still stuff that needs to be paid for, right? Stuff that needs to be handled. So bringing into the fight your monthly contribution. And beyond that, you know, if financially is not how you want to support, that's fine too. Prayer warriors, like I said earlier, that is working with people that have passion is second to working with survivors. And that is, you know, prayer warriors, people that are just out there spreading the word about human trafficking, learning more. You know, even if you're not paying attention to our social media, go on Amazon and look up human trafficking books and learn more about this topic. Follow us on social media and learn about it through us, through our stories, whatever that looks like for you. Become more educated in this and share it with the people in your life so that you are, one, making yourself a expert in this so that you can help other people, but so that you are out there really teaching individuals and giving people a place to go. You truly never know who you might encounter and who you might affect.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Do you want to say anything else in closing before we?
No, I mean, I just really appreciate you having us on here. I appreciate everyone that comes in to listen. I know it's a heavy topic, but it is so important and there really can't be enough said about it and the message can't go far or wide enough. So I just really appreciate you having us on here. I think this is a really, really great opportunity and we're just really honored to be here with you.
Well, hey, honor's all mine, girl. I really appreciate your time and sacrifice. And, you know, that's one thing we can always make back is money, but time we can't. So I appreciate you giving up your time.
Of course,
So I
thank
really
you.
do. But yeah, I was going to tell you too, I support a lot of business and advertise for them. So I really do want to start advertising for you guys. So
Awesome.
at the end of the show, we'll chit chat a little more. I'll let you go, but just give me all your info. And then, yeah, I definitely do want to support you guys and advertise for you guys on every podcast. So
Thank you.
let's do it. We're going to do it. So.
All right.
But other than that, Ren, I appreciate you. If you guys got any questions, I will actually have all of her information in the show notes on ways you guys can support Lantern Rescue or anything like that. You guys need to get a hold of her. They'll have emails on the bottom and all that. You guys see this little news screen on the bottom? Yeah, you can look it up right now. It says lanternrescue.org. Like I said, you guys need anything at all. You guys see anything, don't be the problem. Be the solution. Do what you guys got to do. Keep your head on a swivel, guys. And yeah, just, you know, look out for people, look out for kids. And yeah, just remember, we're all made in the image of Christ, guys. So, Ren, I appreciate you, girl. Keep fighting the good fight. Be safe. Blessings to you and your family. And yeah, you guys need to get a hold of her. I will have all the information in the show notes. So, all right, guys, the show is done. I appreciate you guys. Be safe. You guys need to get a hold of me. Hit me up, cryptidwarfare@gmail.com, or if not, Instagram. And yeah, just remember, guys, Ephesians 6:12. We're not wrestling against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against rulers in heavenly places, guys. So stay strong, keep your head on a swivel, stay frosty, stay dangerous. Jesus wins. That's all I got. So appreciate you. We're out. Peace.